All right, for those of you who chose reading number 3, here she is. Okay, this is very interesting. I think that this is going to go a couple of ways for people. I think that this is going to be in sort of a very large worldly kind of scenario for some reason for some people. And for some people it's going to be much more specific, not specific, but intimate, right? More related to a more personal thing. So what I am seeing is, yes, some depression and some sort of maybe feeling overwhelmed or feeling like there's not enough, right? Not enough, especially when it comes to sort of compassion, love, affection, and that kind of thing, right? Feeling very cut off, very kind of pessimistic. And like I said, I think that can go either one of two ways. I am seeing that it's having to do with sort of like your environment or your world, right? So for some people that's going to be like their world, like their, your own little world, your sort of, maybe your internal world, your psychological world definitely could be that, or it could be like your world as far as like your community and your family and things like that. You don't feel like you're getting enough affection that way or something like that. But I also think that for some of you, it could be in a very sort of whole world kind of sense, especially if it comes to sort of environmental matters, maybe. Could be drawn or all of a sudden kind of inspired to do some kind of environmental work, environmental protection work, environmental kind of rights work, something like that. Something feels very unfair, I think, from your perspective. And specifically having to do with like not enough care, not enough appreciation and that kind of thing, if that makes sense. Someone is whistling. Okay. Let's see. Yeah, there's very much, so in this kind of, I've got two little sections here. This is your sort of hindrance for this month, and this is your kind of your blessings for this month. On the hindrance side, it looks very kind of authoritarian for sure, and a little bit like a feeling of sort of shutting down, shutting yourself off, or becoming quite pessimistic, or becoming quite sort of picky, cranky with people, that kind of thing, really wanting people to kind of adhere to things, like feeling like what the hell, and like really kind of cutting yourself off, I think, because of it, or like I said, just becoming very negative. And again, we have this like kind of depression element and stuff in the general energy. So yeah, I think that there's sort of a rigid kind of perspective, and it's not that your sort of your wants and your needs are wrong. It's just that this kind of this kind of rigid perspective is not serving you this month. It's just creating a lot of sort of negativity within you and negativity in your life, and in a not a productive way, I think. On the other hand, this side, first of all, I'm getting a feeling that's very connected to sort of a child energy for some reason, which might be, well, I know why, but which might be related to either spending time with children, working with children, or just making sure that you have a very staying in touch with your kind of like child side, or doing activities that make you feel kind of childish or something like that. It's also about kind of what's the word? Stamina, I guess. Stamina, ideals, bravery, these kinds of things, right? These are your kind of blessings, and I think that these can have to do with you and sort of your, I guess, a part of yourself that's really can kind of help you despite all of this, right? Despite the fact that there's all these kinds of overwhelming feelings of unfairness and stuff like that, and it's making you really cranky and pissed off. At the same time, I think that you really do have this perseverance, I guess, right? And this ability to kind of pursue it and pursue that sort of pursue your ideals, basically, and try to help manifest your ideals and things like that. And yeah, they're not, these two things are not really opposite of each other, but they're not really, what am I trying to say? They're related, of course. Okay, I think I'm just babbling now. Let's see, is there anything else I wanted to say about that part? I guess not. Maybe I'll come back to that. But sort of your basic advice for this month is just to be interactive, right? Stay in touch with your kind of ideals and stuff like that. Think about, like, do these elements that are blocking you from kind of even fixing anything for yourself or for anyone else, right? Are they in line with your ideals, or are they just a byproduct of kind of your frustration and stuff like that, right? They want you to really stay focused on what you really think is cool and great, even if it seems a little bit outlandish, right? Don't let, like, this kind of overwhelm you and make you shut down. I think that you are gonna come into a place where you're a little bit, I think this is leaving you, this sort of rigidity. I think that there has been sort of this opinion of, like, okay, if things are not perfectly ideal all the time, then you put them in a separate category, and you tend to only focus on the things that feel perfect and ideal to you, or look or whatever perfect and ideal to you, right? And sort of disregard or ignore a lot of that other stuff, possibly because when it comes into your consciousness, it's a little overwhelming and exhausting, and makes you feel very sad and disconnected and that kind of stuff, right? But I think that you're coming into a place where you're going to start to see a little bit more the sort of, you're going to start to see value in sort of more, or even, value in more like messy scenarios, right? Or less like kind of black and white scenarios, or something like that. And not even necessarily value in like scenarios that are messy, but just specific scenarios that are messy, you'll find value in, if that makes any sense. And then also I think that part of that is going to come with this sort of understanding of kind of like an innocence almost, for yourself and for other people, an understanding of like naivety, of people not knowing, of people having, some nuanced experiences and things like that are different from your experience, and that kind of change their perspective and things like that, and that there may be still some kind of like value in that. And I think that also you're going to start to be more in touch with the idea of kind of people's just different value systems, right? Value systems that are like drastically different from yours. I think that you're going to start exploring them a little bit more, maybe. Let's see. Yeah. I think there's going to be a little bit of a change as to what's kind of making it into your perspective and stuff like that. And maybe it's because of this change that all of a sudden you're getting kind of freaked out, right? Maybe you were pretty okay when you were focusing on things that were really positive, and now you have all these kinds of ideas and people and things coming in that are not necessarily in line with your ideals and your perspective and things like that, and you're having to kind of look at those and be faced with those and evaluate them for what they are, and kind of interact with them and that kind of thing. Yeah, I think that may be kind of what some of this is. So you just gotta kind of stay in touch with a lot of your ideals and things like that, but in a way that's more respecting of sort of an evolution maybe, and less of an abrupt change or something, or one that's a little bit more satisfied to have a little bit of change, or maybe you find that what you wanted isn't necessarily what you want or something like that. It's definitely about like playing around a little bit and being a little bit less like strict. And if it is like a very personal subject, this reading for you, as far as like maybe you don't have, like I said, all the affection that you want in your relationship or something like that, that I think that you're going to start to have a bit of a better perspective maybe about where you're where other people are coming from, about what you can kind of do that's more proactive and that's less kind of depressive, I guess, that's a little bit more, you know, making moves even if you don't always see the results, and you kind of like maybe can like nudge things a little bit more in your favor. Card. You know, I think that these things are going to start to feel a little bit more, I don't know, they're just going to open you up in a way it's not going to challenge or get rid of your original kind of perspectives and things like that necessarily, but it's going to allow you to be a little bit more flexible and less stressed out by the fact that they exist, I guess, basically, right? And to just be able to interact with some of these negative things a little bit more and accept small changes a little bit better, and still keep your eye kind of on the prize, right? Okay, I hope that was helpful. I don't know why I feel like I should say something else. I guess not. I guess that's it. Yeah, okay. Sun's going down. Vampires will come out soon. Okay, that's it. I have nothing more to say. I hope this was helpful. Let me know if it was. Thank you for watching. Bye. For those of you who chose number 4, I have a very interesting reading for you. Let's see if I can get it all out in the right order to where it makes sense, because I'm getting a couple of different things. Okay, let's see. I guess I'll start out with sort of like the general energy. Sorry, this is a mess. Not the reading itself. It's just like two things that are interconnected, but they're sort of separate-ish. So let me see. How do I articulate this? Okay, first of all, I am seeing that I think are going to be presented with some opportunities this month. Or you have been presented with some opportunities or something, and you're kind of like in a place of decision making, and evaluation. I think that there's this sort of weird back and forth that you're experiencing between like, okay, you're having like all these kind of maybe opportunities or offers, or maybe even just your mind has been open to some different things or something. For some reason, like you're all of a sudden seeing these different kind of pathways that you could go down, right? And you're kind of stuck in this place between being like sort of afraid of them, nervous of them, but also like they're almost like moving very fast, and like maybe some of them might be kind of like catching you in their current in some ways. Like there's a sort of a wishy-washiness to your sort of resolve right now, if that makes any sense. Like you're not sure where you want to go, and so you're just kind of like letting the motions of what's happening around you sort of take you in a way. But there's an awareness of that for sure, and there's kind of a focus and a looking out for like where you do want to be going, and what feels right and what feels ideal and what feels like it's going to fit, right? And sort of having something in your mind, like that you have an idea in your mind about kind of where you want to go, but then also you're sort of afraid of it, but then also you're not sure because maybe you have too many options. And then on top of that, this is where it gets a little bit weird. On top of that, I'm seeing in this sort of like your kind of troubles this month or something like that. This is very weird. I'm getting passivity, I'm getting aggression, and I'm getting passive aggression. So I'm feeling like you're maybe sort of focused kind of, or unsure about maybe how to approach anything really. Like you're a little bit overly focused on the amount of pressure maybe to apply to a situation or something like that. Like you're very sort of very much in your head about kind of how you react to situations and how you should react to situations, and like making your reactions all perfect and that kind of thing, and your actions perfect, and like trying to be very exact with them and trying to make them all sort of balance out and match up and all that kind of thing. But then on the other hand, you have sort of the problem of like, but where do you actually want to go? Like, yeah, you might be able to sort of adjust your mindset or adjust your attitude, your behavior, or the way that you speak or something related to like all these different like things that are going on around you, but where do you actually want to go, versus spending more time on how do you do that? How do you kind of switch your attitude and switch your kind of like your method for everything, right? But where can you go that's somewhere that you can be natural and you don't have to sort of be a guard for your sort of own actions and reactions and things like that. And sort of there might be I'm getting kind of a side effect coming from that, where it's like you don't know exactly where to put your energies, and so you're just kind of putting them places that are sort of like the squeaky wheel gets the grease kind of thing. Like anyone that's like screaming for your attention loud enough, you're just like, okay, I guess I'll go over there and I'll like do everything that I can, and I'll adjust my behavior and put all this energy into making sure that I'm fitting that situation. But the reality is that like you have a lot of situations to choose from. You have a lot of choices that you can make, and where are you going to be happy, and where are you going to feel like you can be yourself and not have to constantly be somebody else, right? Or a different like kind of curated version of yourself or something like that. On the sort of positive side, your like blessings for this month. Definitely tied into what I was just talking about, but it's kind of like I was saying before, like you have some idea, I think, especially if you really direct your energy, like I said, away from making sure that you're everything to everybody, and into a little bit of self-exploration and thinking about who you are and what you want and stuff like that, that actually you do have the tools to kind of reach that and kind of come up with something that's gonna give you satisfaction, I guess, that you have the experience to kind of look into your own past and stuff like that, and that you also have a little bit of resolve, right? We know from over here where you're putting all this strength into these scenarios that aren't really necessarily for you, that you really do have a lot to give and a lot of like strength there and resolve there. It's just that you're kind of applying it in random places almost. And there's sort of an element of like, if you really do apply yourself, like it's less about how you apply yourself and where you apply yourself. I keep saying that just in different words, but it has to do with sort of making your kind of all of a sudden feeling like you maybe have sort of like magic powers. I don't know, like when things fall into place, when you're able to find the place that you actually feel happy in, it'll feel like everything is really, really coming together in like a very magical way, because it'll be the place where you're not necessarily comfortable, but where you want to be, right? And it'll come a lot easier because you've been used to this place where you're constantly having to switch it up and change, dependent on who's around you and who needs you and that kind of thing. So you'll be a little bit more, I think, grounded in yourself, and it'll just kind of feel like things are coming together, almost how other people feel when you come into their space, right? Where all of a sudden you're so perfect for their space that they're having this feeling like, wow, things are really coming together. You can make that for yourself, where you're finding that, oh, things are really coming together for me because I'm being that for myself. I'm being that missing sort of piece, and acting in a way that's very true to yourself. I hope that makes sense. Advice-wise, still just more of the same thing. You want to be focused on finding somewhere where you feel at ease, you feel like you don't have to have your guard up, you feel like you don't have to constantly be acting or reacting or playing a role or playing a part or something like that. You really want to look for that thing that makes you feel relaxed, and that's sort of what I'm getting is that it's an environment that makes you feel relaxed, and so within that environment you can build and grow and stuff like that, you know, so that your focus isn't all on your external environment, but your external environment itself is something that gives you a nice sort of platform to do other things that you want to do. Okay, I guess that wasn't as simple as I thought. What's sort of coming, like leading out of your life and being sort of replaced is this idea of a sort of a rigid idea of what is valuable and what's good, right? You might have sort of a rigid idea for yourself, that you're maybe only of value in your community if you can do the things that you've been doing, as far as you know, being sort of that everything to everyone, sort of very responsible kind of personality. But I'm seeing that being challenged, right? I'm seeing you being sort of opened up and opening your eyes up to some just other things that might be beautiful. They might not even be for you, but there's just a sort of a widening of your perspective in that way, and that might be where more of these sort of quote unquote options are coming from. It's not necessarily like from the outside world, but all of a sudden you're just recognizing them, right? Maybe they've already kind of been there, but you're just seeing them for some reason. You're breaking out of this sort of certain dimension that you've been kind of viewing things from. Sun's going down. Yeah, and I'm seeing kind of, there's the choice card that I was looking for. This is the last card that I pulled, this Lover's card, and I was like, okay, this is definitely coming up in this reading, like there's no way. And it finally came up, and I was like, okay, that makes sense. So yeah, and then that's in your sort of things to come, is that Lover's card. And this card, which is, it's a little bit unfocused, you know, it's not super directed, it's not maybe necessarily the most like smooth or knowledgeable or whatever, but it's an opening of doors, and it's kind of the energy that I think, an energy that I think is kind of good for you right now. And again, coming with maybe some choices and some reevaluations and all that kind of stuff. Okay, I hope that this was helpful. Please let me know if it was. Have a good month, and see you guys later. Goodbye.